a position at Notre Dame you would like to see Notre Dame enhance through the transfer portal if the right player is available?
Well, so now we're talking after spring ball, right? Because I mean, yeah, January, I think the January portal period closed now. So, yeah, you're gonna have to ask me that question after spring ball because Notre Dame's got a ways to go in terms of getting down to 85 scholarships, right? They're in the 90s right now. So you're gonna have some players. It's going to work itself out. Notre Dame's going to get down to 85. So you're
It
going
always
to have
does.
players leave, always does, and it'll probably get down to 83. And Notre Dame will be able to take another player, and then Ohio State game or whatever it is early in the season. And it's like, oh, now Notre Dame's down to 82. Like that's always how it works. So I always tell people there's much more to complain about, or not complain about, worry about, and have concern over than scholarship numbers. Like Notre Dame knows exactly what's going to happen. Do not concern yourself.
Like Chris Smith was a really nice late add last year, added some depth to the interior of the defensive line.
I don't know. I know that Notre Dame looks everywhere at every position. Marcus Truman says this. We are always looking to enhance our roster. That is not lip service. They really will look at every position. So if their offensive line room stacked, great. If there's another offensive tackle out there who they can bring in that thinks that he can do a great job here and he fits our academic qualifications, they'll do it.
Let me throw this one at you because you know the tight ends very well through the recruiting process. Do you think there's any need to add a veteran guy if there's one available at that spot? Or do you think they're okay with the depth? I know they got some younger guys they're hopeful for.
Yeah, it seems like they have trust in Holden Stays. They definitely do in Kevin Bauman,
Mm-hmm.
and Mitchell Evans, and Eli Raridan seem to be poised to take over as that lead receiving tight end. It's just like, what's the health and like what's the status of the health in that room with Eli Raridan coming back from injury and of course Bauman. So personally, I think it's an okay room. I think.
Yeah.
Between Chip Long, I think Bauman's the last player that Long recruited, but
Wow.
Chip Long to John McNulty to now to Jared Parker, I think it's been a well recruited tight end room, and I don't think they need anybody. But I think that is offensive tackle is obviously a poor example because they're not going to they're not going to find an upgrade there, right? That's just not going to happen. I mean, you got two of the best offensive tackles in the country. But tight end does seem like, okay, we have a really good tight end room, but if we can find someone to enhance it even more and it adds up and it makes sense for us, we could do it.
Let's wrap things up by closing out, I guess, the 2023 recruiting cycle because I know you know, never say never, but we don't expect any activity on National Signing Day coming up for Notre Dame. So the final on3.com 2023 rankings are now out. Anything significantly changed for any of the Notre Dame recruits?
Yeah, you had some bumps, you had some drops, the normal stuff. Brandon Hillman rose, over 100 spots. Sullivan Absher dropped about 200 after,
Wow.
struggle, at the Shrine Bowl and then at the All-American Bowl. Like we had known he was raw as a pass blocker, but then you see it, and I think that kind of changed things. People are going to talk about Odrick Bowen's ranked way too low. He's the Butkus Award winner, and while I don't disagree, we can't base subjective rankings based on a subjective award, right? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. So it is what it is. You're asking the wrong person. Maybe someone else, you could ask about rankings and they'll sound off and give you an amazing soundbite. Rankings just are what they are. Do I disagree with Rico Flores being ranked the number 63 overall wide receiver in the country? Heck yes, I disagree with that. I think it's ridiculous, but I'm just not like it's just not something that I'm really going to concern myself with. It just is what it is. Oh, the Notre Dame bias. People commit to Notre Dame and get dropped. Well, it's just not true. I mean, Armel Mukam just bumped up to a 4-star. Charles Jagasaw committed to Notre Dame, got bumped to a 5-star. Jeremiah Love just got bumped up in the ranking. Like it's just not true. So, and heck, I mean, the Butkus Award has been littered with Notre Dame players. I think that's that's probably a little jaded towards Notre Dame in a good way. Not going to lie to you guys. So it's not. The rankings are just, they are what they are. This site thinks this of a player. This site thinks this. That's why I like the On3 consensus rankings, because it just brings it all together and then it usually averages itself out.
This is a drastic comparison, but for so long in baseball, people will be like, well, who's better, Babe Ruth or Barry Bonds? Well, the styles of play, the game has changed so dramatically, it's hard to compare the two. I don't see how you can rank high school football players at different positions in the same ranking. A quarterback and a defensive end, a defensive tackle, all lined up together. It seems like a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah. So when you talk to people who do the rankings, they're like, they think the position rankings are much like that's what they spend the most time on. How they slot in nationally is more like throwing stuff on a dartboard. It's
Agreed.
like Adon Schuler moved up one spot in the safety rankings, but he moved up like, 40 in the national rankings because of that. So it's much. And in your example there, right, with the two baseball players, the gist is it doesn't matter. Like it's a futile thing. It's just really for fun. And that's what rankings are. They're just for fun. And here we are talking about it for a few minutes on your show. That's what they come down to. It's just something to talk about, really. I mean, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day at all.
It may be fun, but it leads to temper tantrums and chaos a lot of times.
You're telling me, Darren.
And emails and message boards.
The message boards. Oh, and the Twitter.
Oh,
yeah, it's like every fan base is like, these rankings are terrible. Well, it doesn't matter what the rankings are. I mean, if you have 18 of your signees get bumped and then one of them drops, the rankings are terrible. Like at the end of the day, Darren, with the fans, I always will say, if your team, all your players were ranked higher, then would you like the rankings? No, well, I think one player of the 28 is ranked too high. It's just like, all right, I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
Okay. I'll just finish with this. Tom Denon used to be the voice of Notre Dame football, and he was actually the first person I worked with here at WSBT Radio. He's the broadcaster in Rudy.
Okay.
When he goes, that's the broadcaster you see in the booth. And his old saying was, I really don't care about these guys until they put on a Notre Dame helmet, because that's when it really matters. And at the end of the day, once they get here, let's see what they're made of, and we go from there. But the process is
trying to get me out of a job, Darren. You trying to put me out of a job?
No.
I need people to be interested before they're in the Notre Dame helmet. Hey, they put on the Notre Dame helmet in their photo shoot.
Don't mean anything. Just let them get here. Let them develop. We'll see what happens.
That's right.
All right.